Your thoughts on this on-again, off-again judicial tug of war over tariffs?
Well, Brett, it seems highly inappropriate for the judiciary to wade in here when the Senate had the opportunity to override the president and didn't. This administration is committed to fair trade, and we are striking the best deals for the American people, and anything that the courts do to get in the way both harms the American people in terms of trade and in terms of tariff revenue.
Well, that was the Treasury Secretary a few weeks ago when I asked about that, and now this appellate court has said that most of the president's tariffs are illegal, unconstitutional. The administration is going to fast-track this to the U.S. Supreme Court. A White House spokesman just minutes ago, President Trump lawfully exercised the tariff powers granted to him by Congress to defend our national and economic security from foreign threats. The president's tariffs remain in effect, and we look forward to ultimate victory on this matter. We're going to start there with the breaking news. Let's bring in our panel. Matthew Continetti, scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, columnist for the Free Press. Annie Linskey, White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and Democratic campaign consultant Kevin Walling. You know, Matthew, it's a big case. It is a big ruling. It would be substantial, consequential, but it also is in place. The tariffs are until October 14th, according to this ruling, and would certainly go before that time to the U.S. Supreme Court.
I think that's right, Brett. I think this case was probably always headed to the Supreme Court, and so this afternoon's ruling is just another step along that path. And I'm not so sure that the court is going to take up the case immediately. They may say that they're going to hear it, but they may wait until the term begins and later in the term. So the tariffs could have an even longer life than just October 14th. I'll say this, though. The ruling went against the Trump administration, but it was not unanimous. And I think the Trump administration is counting on a more heavily Republican Supreme Court to take the president's arguments about the need for these tariffs more seriously.
Annie, you're nodding your head. I mean, this is crucial to economic policy as seen by the Trump administration, part two.
Yeah, and I think Matt is absolutely right. The Trump aides that I talked to have always expected that this question is ultimately going to be settled at the highest court. So this was always expected. And when you look at the ruling, Republicans on the court did dissent from the ruling. So you're seeing a template for what the Supreme Court could end up doing. Even though Trump obviously was very upset and tweeted about or truthed about it this evening, it was not an unexpected outcome, and I think it clearly is not the last word.
Matthew, Kevin, rather, I think that the pushback when you hear Democrats talk about it, or even somebody like Rand Paul, who has expressed concern about this, is that we're not at war. The economy is relatively strong. Unemployment is pretty low, and that if this is emergency by which the administration uses to justify its use of tariffs around the world, that it could always go around Congress in this way. That is the pushback they give. The Trump administration is very confident that they're on solid ground.
Yeah, Brett, and that's what the 7 judges, it was a 7-4 ruling, highlighted in terms of the emergency nature of what the Trump administration has used to justify, kind of taking those powers, generally used under Article 1 with Congress for these emergency powers to levy these taxes around Liberation Day in the spring. So certainly this process is going to play out over the next couple of weeks. I'll also note that it also provides the president another foil, another political foil to rail against, as the president likes to do and enjoys doing, and shows that he can also, take another person or cause against, someone standing in his way in between him and the American people.
Matthew, I'll just end it on this topic, is that the president touts all the money coming in, and over the long term, what they're projecting in the $4 trillion range. He is not done doing negotiations with different countries. And there is some question about what inflation will look like, especially with companies that are holding on to inventory that hasn't really been hit by the tariff yet.
I think revenue is the key word here, Brett. There are a lot of different rationales for the president's tariffs, but you've heard the president talk about all of the money coming into the U.S. Treasury as a result of the tariffs. In your interview with Treasury Secretary Bessent, he also mentioned revenue. if the Supreme Court were to ultimately rule against the administration on this, you'd get one of the largest rebates, I think, in the history of the federal government. But at a time when we need revenue to the Treasury in order to combat our growing public debt and deficit, I think that argument is a powerful one for the Trump administration.
And on this, Annie, do you think that the Trump inside feels that this Supreme Court could possibly be on their side?
Yeah, my sense from talking to White House aides is that they believe the makeup the Supreme Court would be more open to their arguments, and particularly given that Trump has nominated several members of that court. But their sense and their read of the court is that that's going to be a much more friendly venue for this argument, and that's always been the case.
Meantime, it seems like the Trump administration is heading to the Midwest, to Chicago, on this crackdown on crime. Take a listen.
The intentions here are clear. They want to inflame something. That is what they want. They look at what they did in Los Angeles.
Get out of the way, because we're going to do it. President Trump's committed to making Chicago great again, making it safe again, since they failed to do so.
This is a long-standing challenge for Democrats. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
This is a simple choice. You either side with civilization or you side with anarchy and violence.
The Associated Press, Chicago is in the Trump administration's sights for its next immigration crackdown. The operation in the country's third largest city, expected to last about 30 days, could start as early as September 5th. A Department of Homeland Security official told the AP on Friday. Another U.S. official said the timing of what could be a sustained immigration enforcement effort resembling this summer's operations in Los Angeles is awaiting final approval. The Chicago mayor said, make the check out to Chicago. We'll take it from there. Kevin, this is going to be a battle on messaging, on how it plays, how people feel about it, whether it's good, bad, indifferent.
It'll certainly be a battle, and I think, to your point, Brett, it'll resonate and look much similar to what we saw in Los Angeles as opposed to what we're seeing in Washington, D.C., a federal city, obviously. He's going to run up to some issues with, J.B. Pritzker, the governor, and obviously the mayor of Chicago in terms of what they can do from a federal position. Obviously, the city of Chicago has been outspoken, and its leadership has been outspoken as a sanctuary city. So clearly, both sides are itching for this fight, and it will play out on our cameras and in the optics of everyone's imaginations and what they see on TV every night, and that will be a boom for both sides, most likely.
Nationally, Matthew, the AP poll, approval of the president's handling of crime, it's going up. His approval is going up on that issue specifically.
These are Trump's two most important issues and strongest issues, crime and illegal immigration. And I just would hope that Mayor Johnson of Chicago and Governor Pritzker of Illinois would pay attention to the comments made by Mayor Bowser here in D.C., Brett, who after initially supporting, then rejecting, she's now back to saying that Trump's anti-crime campaign, which also has an anti-illegal immigration component here in the District of Columbia, is succeeding, and she's grateful for it. The Democrats should not be in a position of being anti-crime or anti-illegal immigration. I think they're on the losing side of this 70-30 issue.
Once you go anti, you're really in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Okay, let's do winners and losers. End of the week. Annie, start with you. Winner, then loser.
The winners for the week are fans of the musical Les Miserables. They have a big ally in the White House with Donald Trump. I was over at the White House today, and I heard tunes from that musical belting out from the Rose Garden, where Donald Trump himself was overseeing the playlist and listening to it on this day before Labor Day weekend.
Nice. Loser?
Losers are the Senate Republicans, who are losing a clear win with Joni Ernst deciding not to run for re-election. And it means that they are going to just have to spend some more money, likely, in the Hawkeye State in Iowa.
That's probably true. Kevin, winner and loser.
So my winner for this week is any college football fan. College football is back. It's America's sport. It's great, as Brett, you just mentioned. My South Carolina Gamecocks are going to defeat the Hokies on Sunday at 3:30. Lenora Sellers is a shoo-in for the Heisman. So go Gamecocks on Sunday. And my loser is every single former boyfriend of Taylor Swift that lost out on marrying a billionaire music icon and only got, some sad songs out of it.
All right, winner and loser, Matthew.
My winner are my Washington Commanders for signing Scary Terry McLaurin after a long dispute. He's a great tool in that offense. And my loser is the Commanders' rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, for trading away Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers, a once-in-a-generation talent. I can think of at least 3 quarterbacks in the NFC East who are breathing a sigh of relief because of that trade. So the Cowboys are the losers.
Yeah, I have some Dallas buddies who are in mourning still. Panel, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.